Well, good evening on this lovely December evening, and I'm hoping that you're staying warm. It's going to be cold in North Carolina tonight. I know that for sure. Um, I live kind of eastern North Carolina, so it's kind of surprising to me because I live near the ocean within 45 minutes. However, just this week, our fountain outside had icicles on it. And that's just like mind blowing to me coming from California. So, welcome, welcome. Be sure and drop in the chat where you're from and what's the weather like tonight? Are you bundling up or are you living in an area where it's nice and warm? So, my name is Tamara Carroll. I'm your host tonight of Life with Lipedema, Love, Valued, and Treasured. As usual, I love to share a little inspiration. And this one is very good. Negativity is contagious. Unhappiness is contagious. Fear is contagious. But so is happiness. So is optimism. So is love. Surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you and strive to be a reflection of what you want to receive. I love that. So I'm super excited to be sharing with you tonight my guest, and she's coming all the way from New Zealand, everyone. So please welcome Fiona O'Brien, and she is a tribe member with Lipedema Simplified. And we're going to get to it's not a misspell under her name there. It's a lit B. It's not a misspelling. So we'll get to that just in a minute. But welcome, Fiona. And gosh, I was just so excited when you said yes that you would join us. And not only because you're coming all the way from New Zealand, but I remember the first time that I met you. Well, met virtually. We were in the tribe crafting group. And I just remember thinking to myself, what a delightful person she is. So thank you so much for coming alongside and joining us tonight. So let me just read her bio for you. Fiona struggles with the weight of lipedema. That is, her legs just don't want to function like they used to. I totally get that. Mobility is on top of her mind. Lipedema doesn't stop her from having fun. In fact, she thinks laughter is the best medicine. I want to hang out with you in person because that's one of my favorite things to do. She goes about her day with a smile firmly fixed. It's amazing how contagious it can be. And so, as we say here, your name, it says Lip B Girl. Can you want to tell them why that is?
Thank you, Tara, for inviting me on your lovely, loved, valued, treasured show. Yes, Lippy Girl, because I'm a beekeeper and my husband and I have bees I've been married to him for 30 years next year.
Mm,
And to get a date with him, I had to go out on the bees because bees are
wow.
really super busy times of the year. And so that's how it happened. So beekeeping came first. However, lipedema really came first, but
Yeah.
I wasn't diagnosed until much later into our marriage. So Lip Bee Girl comes from me being lippy plus beekeeper. So yeah, lippy
Uh,
girl. It's actually
I
better than lippy girl because like there's an emphasis on that double P. I
right.
think I like the B being in there.
That is so cute. I love it. And I was telling her I wore my yellow daisy shirt tonight to honor her being a beekeeper. Is it ever scary being a beekeeper? I'm just curious about that.
Well, yeah, it is actually because I got stung. Well, I should tell you how the first time I went out with the beekeeper, my husband and his partner at that time, beekeeping partner, and the only bee suit they had was a spare one, was a little bit small for me. And they must have been laughing because I had to jump to get into the bee suit. It was
Oh, goodness.
skin tight. So, of course, I was much ammunition for the bees because normally when we
Oh,
beekeep,
no.
we beekeep with really floppy gear so that the bees can't just sting in. So on that first date, I guess I got quite a few stings in the bottom.
Wow.
I should say that more. It was the biggest part of me and biggest attraction for the bees.
Wow.
So that's what
Wow.
happened.
And you went
You know,
out with them again.
you can get a bit scared of if you get multiple stings. I went through a period where I came home one day and I had one here, and one here, and I said, "That's it, no more." But
Wow.
I had some wonderful interventions, and I got a kitten we found on the side of the road, and the kitten's stripes were exactly the same coloured stripings of the bees. And once
Wow.
I had that kitten, it was a little gift from God for me. And once I got her, I was able to open up the top of the beehives without proper beekeeping gear on, and I was able to beekeep. And my husband was very astonished about that. But because I had a calming influence, if you are around the bees, it's better to be calm. If you are scared, you give off pheromones, and the bees are very much in tune to pheromones and smell, and that's when they come out thinking there's a foreigner here who's not going to do us, any good, sort of thing. And once I got into calm and I lost that pheromone, then they just kind of looked at me and went, "What are you doing here?" And then they kept doing their work.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. Since we are Lipedema podcast here with Lipedema Simplified, can you take about 5 minutes and just share with us a little bit about your story and anything that you'd like to highlight that was an aha for you as you've discovered your journey?
Yeah. So when I was 15, my medical history I always give to any doctor since that time was I put on 3 stone in 3 months, which is approximately 20 kilos, which I think is probably about 40 pounds. Is that about right? Something like that. And that was strange. It was very unnerving. I had my mother and my brothers were very small. My dad was a bigger man, and that's where I've got the genetics through my dad because my aunts and stuff had the disease. So it was thought I'd look like my dad, but in fact, I had a bit of obesity as well, but I managed to get back on that, and I'm now more a pure lipedema show. So I went for a long, long time with not being diagnosed, not understanding why I failed at every diet that I went on. And that, I just kept doing things though. I guess I just kept, going out, beekeeping, driving trucks, getting up in and out of the truck. I was just bigger getting in and out of the truck.
Wow.
Had some injuries, and so they take longer to heal when you're beekeeping. And it wasn't until 10 years ago this year that I went to some family funerals. My dad was one of 13, and he was adopted out because his mum died with the 13th baby. He was the 12th baby. And so didn't grow up with my cousins, so I didn't know about this disease called lipedema. But when we went to this funerals, the 3 in 1 year, my cousin said to me, "What are you going to do about your legs?" And I was like, "Well, what are you keep looking at my legs?" Trying to pull my skirt down even further.
Oh my goodness.
You can imagine that. But anyway, they persisted. When the next one died, I don't know why, 3 went in 1 year. And by the 3rd funeral, I'd convinced them that I was going to my doctor. And my cousins told me that I had lipedema because they had lipedema, or as in here, lipoedema. But they had it. And some of them are in Australia, some of them are in New Zealand. So I went to my doctor, and she just had never heard of it. And she apologized to me and said, "Look, I'm sorry, I didn't know about this," because we had a doctor relationship for so long where she had been trying to get me to lose weight, and a smile on my face, it just didn't happen, and I understand now why it didn't happen. She still, I think, struggles with that because, again, it's not that well known. And interesting, I was at the doctor's on Monday, and the patient she got after me, my husband and I were sitting there. We looked at each other and went, "Well, I wonder if she's consulting for her about lipedema." It's kind of interesting. So 10 years this year I've been diagnosed, 10 years in compression. And I would say that the first 6 years was only about compression. I'm stage 3 severe, or was originally a stage 4, but they've reclassified. So, and I'm short. So in short, I have really big legs, and I have got the skin is stretching more and more as I'm getting older. I'm 55 now.
Mm.
But I have more lipoma, the lipomas, not lipomas, the fat pads that are kind of coming down on those pictures that you see. So
Yeah,
that's where the
I have
mobility
that too.
gets harder because you're
Mhm.
trying to walk with all
Mhm.
of that. You're trying to turn in bed. Normal people turn in bed. I do this 36-point turn.
I
And then
know. Me
and
too.
my husband is hanging on to the blanket because if he doesn't, I take them with me.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yes, I
Yeah.
can so relate. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things I love about you is your positivity. Have you always been a positive person?
I think that I have. I go back to my dad. My dad said to me, I was the oldest of three, two brothers follow me. He said to me, you could do anything that you want. You have to do it. And in fact, when we would go out pulling blackberry plants, wild blackberry, I was
Mhm.
there as well as my brothers. There was no such thing as a boys or a girls role in our house. So I think that my dad led with that, and part of that you had to be positive in what you were doing. If we were a little bit negative, he would say, "There's no point talking like that. You might as well be positive." And I think sometimes people struggle with you being a positive person.
Yeah,
Um, in life, and they could be the
yeah,
most attractive, skinniest people in the world. You know what I'm saying? That
yeah,
they have a lot to be positive about compared
yeah,
to what sometimes I think that I am. But um, I think it's really important to be positive. I think there are times in my life where I can get down. That's not
yeah.
about being negative, I don't believe. That's just where we
Right.
struggle
Sure,
with the
sure. I
weight
know we're
of what,
human. Yeah,
with what it is. But
yeah.
yeah, I think it's important. I mean, you talk in my intro about smiling. I kind of go out in the day and I'm getting in the car and I just smile, It's the
Mhm.
world. It's wonderful. We're alive. And you go down the road and you're stopped at the traffic lights and someone's walking on the road and you turn and you smile and you see them smile and it's like you in their mind they're thinking, who is that? I've got no
Mhm.
idea. Then it's like this kind of recognition and you're looking back at them going, don't go there because you don't recognize me because I do not know who you are.
Mhm. Mhm.
But smiling actually makes other people um, go down that pathway as well. And I think it's really important as part of positivity that we pass those smiles around.
Mhm. I love that. Thank you. Was there somebody that inspired you when you were growing up, or somebody that inspires you now that is a positive thinker? Can you think of anything or anyone? Maybe a
Honestly,
grandmother was that way, or no?
no. And to a degree, not my mum, because my mum passed this year, but no, probably more my dad. He had this big rosy red cheeks and big smile, and we used to laugh and tell jokes, and we would tell stories, that were about our life, but we would recount them year on year on, but they were funny. And I guess a couple of years ago, I've got this wonderful, precious video. The last Christmas my dad was alive, and in New Zealand, we have this product called Vegemite, which is like a black spread.
Yes,
Australians
I've
have it.
tried it. Somebody
You
told
tried
me it
it.
was like Nutella.
It's
It's
similar.
not like
Yeah,
Nutella.
no, it's like similar to Marmite, but slightly different.
Yeah.
And my mum loved Vegemite. So one year, I actually got this huge tub of Vegemite. Right, that's the practical jokers in us. And she's unwrapping this in the video, and my dad is just laughing and laughing about this big tub of Vegemite. She's like,
Mm.
"How am I ever going to eat that much?" But you know what? That's part of life. Is actually having fun. Yeah,
Mhm.
wherever you
Mhm.
go, whatever you do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's so awesome. So I know you can relate to this, and you had kind of brought it up a little bit about, have our down moments sometimes too, because we are human and, things happen. You and I had talked about staying positive and pivoting when things change. What did you mean by that exactly?
I think sometimes the questions are good. That sometimes we get thrown a question or we get thrown a problem and it puts us off our stride. In other words, we've got to focus in a way of going. And I think it's really important. Like I've noticed it in our business between my husband and I, we've learned very quickly to come up with a different solution or come up with a different idea or a range of ideas. So when we talk about pivoting, is that sometimes something happens in our life. So this year, lots of things have happened for me this year with my mum being sick and passing, and then I had health problems that meant I couldn't get to the pool. And the thing is, at any one of those stages, it's very easy to step back, and my husband would say, I say with a smile, have a pity party, and sit back and think, I can't do it. Throw up my hands and say, that's it, I'm out, Whereas the thing, if you can learn to pivot, in other words, sit back and say, you don't have to have the solutions written somewhere. You have to say to yourself, can I do this a different way? Or does it matter? Can I just actually, I'd say, park that, just put it to one side so it doesn't go around or around in my head.
Right. That overthinking is so hard. Yeah.
So how can I, and I think the smarter you get with that, the quicker you pivot. So instead of spending 2 hours, I had to tell my husband, he would come home from work and he'd say, I spent 6 hours doing a task, and he says, but I couldn't do it because something happened. And I'd say to him, why don't you just ring me on the phone and we'll talk it and I'll write down some things. He's now learned after almost 30 years. It's taken almost 28 to get there, to actually ring and actually have somebody, maybe a buddy, or in case of my husband and I, where we can actually say, hey, look, I just come up with this problem and I don't want it to affect my lipedema, if it's something, like that, or anything else in your life. How can we pivot? What can we do? What are some solutions? Do that quick brainstorming. Come up with some different ideas. And initially you'll say, oh, I can't think like that. Well, actually sit back and say, well, maybe I can, or maybe I get involved with my group, or have I got someone that I can meet with? What can I do?
So let's take that just a little bit deeper with the ladies in our community that have lipedema, and they're like, oh, I want to be positive. I run around with a lot of positive people. And so that's who speaks into my life, right? And I speak into theirs. And sometimes I have found, as I've been getting to know people in the lipedema and lymphedema community, it's really hard for people when they're having so much pain and they're depressed or sad, or they're having a hard time. Like they say to me, I want to be positive like you, but I don't know how to do it. Is there anything that you could specifically say to them to encourage them about pivoting? And again, we can take our thoughts captive, right? I heard you say that, take your thoughts captive and be like, no, I'm not going to think on that. But the physical part of it, it can be really draining and pulling on our lives, without trying to refocus. Is there anything that you can think of as a little encouragement on that?
Yeah, I would say it's about having a list of things in your mind, maybe, or to write them down. But sometimes I can only manage little things. So, for example, not today, but just say a day where my legs just hurt. I'm exhausted. Okay, so I will sit in my chair, my lazy boy, with my legs up. But what I do is I say to myself, what can I achieve every so often during the day? So this would be kind of like my worst day. So I might sit in my chair for 20 minutes and I get my energy back. And then I'll go, what can I do in 5 minutes? What can I achieve in 10 minutes? Doesn't have to be about lipedema, but it could be, it could be baking or making food. I remember one day what I would normally take to cook in an hour or two took me 8 hours. But I went, yes, I achieved it. Because I sat there, I was, first of all, realistic about what could I achieve today. And then I said, now, what is the challenge? So realism, what is the challenge that I could do to help myself today? A little, not a whole lot. So, sit
and then
down.
you do feel accomplished. You say, okay, I did something. That was a good thing.
Yeah.
And then I always try to see the good in whatever it is. Maybe I just need a rest day,
Yeah. And I think
and that's
too,
a good thing.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is to say to yourself, it's okay to have a day
Mhm.
where you're at your bottom, if you understand what I mean. Like, you're
Mhm.
not going to stay there. It's just today, that's where you're at. There's other days where I can go and do a whole heap of stuff. And then there's other days where I need every second day, like my mum's house. So I'm happy to clean my mum's house. She's got 14 stairs to the top, right?
Mhm.
Which is
Boy.
the house. So I know that I really can't go every day because I'm
Mhm.
really exhausted. So I go every second day. Then
Oh,
I'm
good.
not hard on myself if I
Mhm.
have to get to the second day. I think, no, I just can't make those stairs today. I'll go tomorrow. But I
Mhm.
do go tomorrow.
Right.
And I make sure I take my book with me. So when I get up the stairs, I need to rest. Then I
Mhm.
read my book till I've done about 20 minutes of resting. And then I go, oh, good. Now what can I achieve? So
Oh,
I think
good.
it's about little things. And I think it's also about what we do, like wearing our compression. Sometimes it's really tough to wear compression. So and
Mhm.
you've got to decide, well, do I give it a go, or do I just, it's hot or it's cold, or,
Mhm.
what can I do to help with the heat and the cold? How can I adjust to that? Because even in winter, I sometimes find the compression is really cold and my
Mhm.
legs are a lot colder. But, I think it's about you've just got to try and see what
Mhm.
you can achieve today. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes it may be that you sit and just listen to nature, listen
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
podcasts, listen to, old recordings and stuff when you can't actively do things. So you're still putting things into your mind. I
Mhm.
feel I keep adding into the mind, reinforcing into my mind what it
Mhm.
is that I could potentially achieve with
Mhm.
lipedema, with
Yeah.
my lipedema interventions.
Right. I know my mom, she's she's always been my encourager, and she says something even if she's had a bad day, she'll say, "Well, tomorrow will be better." And I've learned to say that myself, even if I've had a pain day, or even if, I didn't get all the things accomplished that I wanted to do, even if all of the world stuff that's going on, it feels like it's affecting, tomorrow will be a better day, and just to say that out loud, I think that really makes a big difference. Hi, Nancy. Wow, it is cold there, 36 degrees. She's in Michigan. So, because the name of my show is called Life with Lipedema, Loved, Valued, and Treasured, I always like to ask my guests, what is the one word? I know it's hard to pick one sometimes, but between loved, valued, and treasured, which one resonates the most with you tonight?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask him. And I hate these questions.
Mm.
Some people are really good at this, and I'm like, oh dear, I'm put on the spot about these things.
You're doing great.
I think, I think the biggest thing I've struggled with in my life is about being valued as a
Mhm.
person. And I come back to, I think there's a lot of anti fat bias out there,
Mhm.
um, in the community, in workplaces and stuff. And, even just recently, I had an incident where somebody was saying to me, Fiona, you're overthinking
Mhm.
something that we were attempting to do. And I thought, no, 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 no. You've misunderstood my skills. My skills may only be in this part of my
Mhm.
body because the rest of me doesn't function like everyone else. So I have an incredible mind that can analyze things, that can do preparations for planning, that can. There's a lot of stuff that I've got skills in, and I've come to realize that with the help of actually Lisa Drury.
Mhm.
And that's been really good for me. And in this community of Lipedema Simplified, I have never felt more valued in my whole entire life. And I said that
Mhm.
to my husband and my friend quite recently. It's emotionally, I really feel attached because people do value you. And I
Mhm.
think it's because, and that's why I come back to the anti-fat bias. I think because we've all struggled with that,
Right.
that's off the table when it comes to
Yeah.
lipedema. It's not a
Yeah.
factor, whereas in other places it has. So there's been times in my life where I talk about my life is like a knitted scarf, and I have drop stitches over that course. And when I go
Mm.
back, I understand what that drop stitch is. It's where something has happened
Mhm.
to me. And in the case of the word valued, where I haven't been valued, where I know that I've gone home and sat in a corner and cried.
Mhm.
And we talk about being positive, but it's like, so how do you get around that? How do you get over that? And it's actually acknowledging, actually, it wasn't me. It was what somebody else was trying to do to me. Yeah.
Mm,
So for me,
mhm.
it's being valued. And I think once you become, when you're valued, then people treasure you. And I realize now that I have friends who treasure my
Yes,
skills,
yes.
and appreciate that. Yeah.
Hi, Chris. Yeah. Wow, that's really good. So the second part of my question is, and you're doing a great job. I love you so much. I just love being with you. Would love for you to come back again next year because I feel like you have a lot to unpack with us, a lot of wisdom. So the second part of that question is using your word valued. Could you maybe put that in a sentence or two for the ladies and give them an encouragement about feeling valued?
That's even harder
Or
for me.
being valued, or how can we value
Valued.
our lives?
Yeah. I think for each and every person out there, and I say lipedema because I'm hopefully that's the community, that we've got in here. I think that we all need to be valued, and I think we have valuable skills. I think we tend to put them away, and we need to bring them out so that people do value us. Because I think often when we are bigger people in an anti-fat bias, we want to hide. And I
Mhm.
think we need to come out. We need to
Yes,
come out behind
absolutely.
that and say, you know what? I actually have a disease called lipedema. I might have a bit of obesity, but a lot of people won't. So I don't want to be treated like that. I want to be valued for the person that I am. I want to be valued for the health condition that I have. And I want to be valued that I can get help to do self care and all those sorts of things with this. So I think it's
Mhm.
about us presenting as well, is to come out
Mhm.
and say, hey, look, I've got lipedema. It doesn't stop me. It never will stop me. But I
Yeah,
just need to care for myself as I go through my daily life.
right. Thank you. That was so beautiful. And I just want you to know that being across the world from you, I mean, you're changing lives with what you're sharing tonight across the world, around the world. So I just want to really honor you for that. It's
Thank you,
really
Tamara.
been a very special time with you. Before we close, I do have a couple of announcements. Next week, I don't know if y'all saw on the Lipedema Simplified website and Facebook groups and whatnot, we have Susan O'Hara, who is the founder of Legs Like Me. And if you haven't heard her or seen her, definitely look her up. But she's going to be on the show next week. And she is now the executive director of the Lipedema Project, which is the nonprofit that's associated with Lipedema Simplified. Lots and lots of research and good information. So Susan will be my guest here next week. And let's see, starting in January, my podcast is going to be on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST. And it's going to be the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. And so I'll be reminding you of that in between now and the first of the year. Um, Come 7 o'clock, I'm kind of wimpy. So I just thought if I could do it just an hour earlier, it would just be a great thing for me. And it's going to be a little longer. We'll have about 45 minutes with our guest. I just feel like that 30 minutes just isn't long enough sometimes, just like with Fiona. I feel like I want to keep asking more, but I want to be able to honor everyone's time. So it'll be the second and fourth Wednesday, 6 p.m. EST, and that will start in January. And then lastly, there is a free webinar coming up Saturday the 14th. And oh, wait, I think the date is wrong on that. Saturday is the 14th. And so it's going to be Saturday the 14th, and it is Lipedema 101. And anybody who just needs to get an understanding of some basics and maybe learn a little bit more about it. Maybe you have people in your family or friends who, caretakers, people that help you, maybe they'd like to get some information. So it is a free webinar. Be sure that you catch that link in the chat and sign up for that. It's free. So, okay, I thank you so much, Fiona, for joining us. I want you to know from my heart to yours that you are loved, you are valued, and you're so treasured. And I'm so grateful that this crazy disease made us friends. And I'm just so grateful for you.
Thank you,
And
Tamara. Thank you
and
very much.
you're welcome. And to our community, you too are loved and you are valued and you are treasured. And I will see you next week.